Next concept is using a bit of code to move an object. It's cool to be able to animate everything in the viewport. To become more productive, to get rid of repetitive animation, you turn to code. Beyond repetitive animation, sometimes code just allows you to automate an effect, so this way you don't have to be messing with the keyframes, you could just animate. Start out by creating a new composition. This is just an introduction to how scripting works within After Effects. It's going to be very simple, this first script. Create a new shape. Drag shape out. Now, this isn't the script part, this is just my object. What if you want this object to continue to rotate forever? Go to the transformations and you can press the R key for rotation, P key for position, S key for scale. I'm interested in R key, rotation. Why? Rotation only has one value, and we'll get to multiple values a little later on. I want this to continue to rotate. I'll put a keyframe here at frame 0, and let's say by 25 frames in, which is almost a second, I'll increase the rotation by dragging this second number. Now this first number is how many times to go 360 degrees around. So 0 means how many times to go 360 degrees around. This second number is how many times to go any number between 0 and 360. Now when I hit 360, you can see this first number changes to 1. So that's 1 full revolution plus 6 degrees. I just wanted to go maybe to 30 degrees. This is currently the animation, but then it stops. And there's all this rest of this time. Continue the animation without making more keys or dragging this key over here and adjusting the animation. Press the Option or Alt key on this stopwatch. This opens up the scripting window, and the script that we're going to be using is loopOut. And look how it's written, loop, lowercase, L-O-O-P, capital O-U-T. And you could just click on this piece of code within this drop-down menu. So double click. And that makes the code come. I'll do that again. Loop. And I want out. Double click on loop out. And there it is. What this states, continue doing this animation. It's not doing it in a great way, right? It's repeating it over and over and over again and just this little jitter. So I don't want that. Within loopOut, I can use the word continue. And this is more code than you're going to need for today's lessons, but might as well cover it. So now it's just going to continue along that rotation. Loop out without any extra instructions, no parameters being passed. We'll just repeat these two keyframes over and over and over and over again. To get some control over this, within the parentheses, I'm going to write the word continue. And that means whatever motion you had as of the last key, figure out that direction vector and just continue it. There's other words we can use. And so the other parameter, which is cool, would be ping pong, which means go back and forth. So when you hit that last key frame, go back and forth. I'm going to set this back to quote continue. Notice the quotes. So what's the advantage of doing this as opposed to putting a keyframe down here? What happens if your timeline gets longer? Then you have to drag all those keys around. What if you don't like the speed of this rotation? You want to go quicker or slower. That means you have to go from this side of your timeline all the way down here, adjust it, drag back, and play it again. In this situation, if I go to that second key and I don't like it going so slow, plus 30, I want it plus 90. And now it'll just continue that way. By condensing the area where you put the keyframes, You have to do less hunting on the timeline. Also, you're protecting your art in case your timeline has to get longer and you forget to drag that last key all the way to the other end of the time to continue the animation. If I to erase this code, let me select the word and just delete. And now it's no longer controlled by code. If you don't migrate this last key to the very end of time, then you'll get a rotation, everything stops. And you don't want that in your animation. You have 20 different layers going, and all of a sudden one layer just stops rotating, and you don't notice until you render the video. To prevent some of that from happening, just option click on a key, and when it's appropriate, you could use one of the functions, such as loopOut. And I selected continue for continuous motion. And that's your introduction to scripting in After Effects, so you could do a little more. You can see coming up, this will be applied to an effect to keep that effect evolving so we don't have to place in the keys.